If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart. Let's get to it, New York.
Oh, it's not just EJ Stewart today. It's not just EJ Stewart. We have a very special guest joining me today. This is Orange and Blue Bloods, the New York Knicks podcast, where, of course, we're talking about the Knicks playoff run right now. I wouldn't call it a hiatus, but a little bit of a pause because of them sweeping the Philadelphia 76ers and the conference semifinal match between the Cavs and the Pistons going deep. So we kind of have this no man's land, so I thought that was a great opportunity to bring in a guest to talk about the Knicks, and we bring in none other than Dexter Henry, host of New York Got Game, host on New York Post Sports. Dex, it is so good to have you on, man. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No, man. Thank you for having me. You know what this feels like for the Knicks, EJ? It almost feels like a little mini camp, like a mini training camp for them with this time that they have. So also it's kind of good for us. I know sometimes for us to create the content, the break's been a little good to not have to worry about games, but I'm kind of itching to get back to it a little bit. So yeah, the break's been good.
The break is good. It was a little weird. Like these last few days, like it was like I'm like, so what do I do? All I had was Mets, and I thank goodness the Mets decided to turn the season around a little bit to start. They started winning some games because if I had to watch some bad Mets baseball the last few days, that would have been really, really rough. So thank goodness they started playing a little better.
You're right. The Mets actually sweeping the Tigers have been helpful in terms of my watch, and then AJ Ewing being called up too. So that's been good.
Yeah.
So maybe it's some blue and orange vibes just combining over from one place to another. So hopefully that continues with the Knicks.
Yeah, AJ Ewing with the Mets, Danhausen for the Knicks. We got all different curses, uncurses, all different lucky charms happening for everybody wearing blue and orange. But of course, this is Orange and Blue Bloods, where we talk about the New York Knicks primarily. And I want to ask you just where the team is right now. They obviously advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals, second year in a row. They sweep the Philadelphia 76ers in dominant fashion, multiple 30-point blowouts, only one competitive game in a series that a lot of folks thought the Knicks could lose. A lot of folks were actually predicting a very deep series, and nonetheless, the Knicks dispatched them pretty quickly. They've won 7 in a row now, with this win streak dating back to the Hawks series in Game 4 of that series. What have you learned about this team during this winning streak? Because this has been some of the most dominant basketball, not just in Knicks playoff history, but in NBA playoff history for the last few weeks.
I think what we learned about this team is they are more adaptable than maybe we thought. They're finally playing to their talent. And I think we also learned that they are the deepest team, they're the most balanced team, and they're the most talented team in the Eastern Conference because they've played to that and shown us everything. Now, look, the offensive highs are so historic that we've seen from this team, EJ. I know in your lifetime you haven't seen the Knicks offense this good. I haven't seen the Knicks offense as good. I'm a little older than you. I haven't seen the Knicks offense as good. But that to me is not even the most impressive part. It's the defense for me. The consistency on defense. And if we're being fair, it's been trending upward the right way since January, since Mike Brown made some tweaks back to the defense. So I think what I learned a lot is this was a group that there were words used before the playoffs, fractured. That's not true. Because when you're a fractured team, you don't do what this team has done, going 8-2 through 10 games in the playoff run, the dominant wins they've had. They've changed their offense and their defense for the way it was in the beginning of the season. Now, the offense looks way more the way Mike Brown wanted it. But that's what I mean about the adaptability. It shows you they were able to adapt. It also should teach us the lesson that for all teams, the journey takes time at times through a season, and you have to be patient with the process. This team has just been extremely adaptable. They are fully bought into what Mike Brown wants. They also understand who they are. And in understanding who they are, I don't even think they've peaked, but they are trending towards peaking at the right time of the year, which is what you should want from your basketball team or any sports team you root for.
Yeah, I think mentioning that defense is important because the three-point shooting, the gaudy offensive numbers like you mentioned are certainly eye-popping, but in a league where teams kind of roll out of bed and get 100 points, the way the Knicks have been able to keep teams from scoring 100 during this win streak has been insane. I mean, only 2 of the games during the 7-game win streak did an opponent score 100 points. The Hawks never got back to 100. Sixers did it twice. once in a garbage time blowout in the last game, where who knows they get to 100 if the starters play the entire game. So the defense has certainly improved in a way that I think a lot of Knicks fans didn't expect. And I think I was actually on New York guy game. I think you asked me what was the thing I was most worried about. And I think I said the defense. I said I was worried that they're not going to be able to guard. And that has been certainly not the case at all. Their defense is ratcheted up a notch. Has that been the biggest difference for you in thinking about the Knicks' dominant play this postseason compared to the team you saw that was up and down during the regular season?
Absolutely. And I think it was right when you came on me. You're right, because I did ask you that when you came on New York Got Game. I think it was right for you at that time to think that that was your biggest concern. I think that was 100% right, because even though they had been better in the second half of the season, EJ, you still were like, okay, how's this going to hold up against other elite teams, other
Right.
playoff teams? I think that was something you said to me you were concerned about. And I thought you were right about that, to be concerned. So to me, the biggest difference is that not the defense has just changed, not that before that in the second half of the season was trending in the right direction, but now it stayed consistent, right? And the other thing for me with the defense is you just see how they really locked in after those losses in games 2 and 3 to the Atlanta Hawks, right? CJ McCollum shut down after that. The job that Mikal Bridges did on Tyrese Maxey in the Sixers series was phenomenal. Guarding the point of attack was a huge concern for this Knicks team throughout the season. And now, I think if you're a Knicks fan or anybody watching this team, you feel confident, like, okay, they can guard the point of attack. All right, if James Harden has the ball, I'm confident in what Mikal Bridges can do on him. If Donovan Mitchell has the ball, if Cade Cunningham has the ball, not really anybody else that you're that concerned with on Detroit, maybe Dennis Jenkins to some degree, but you get my point.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest difference, because the Knicks aren't going to shoot the ball the way they did in Game 4 against Philadelphia all the time. But the one thing you can keep is that you can keep that same energy on defense. You can have that consistency. And if you do that, it'll help you win the games, the tight games, even when you don't shoot the ball well. Because the Knicks are going to get punched in the mouth. Once again, there's going to be a game that comes up however long the rest of their run is where they don't shoot the ball that great.
Yeah.
But I think how balanced they are in the way they've been playing, I think they have the tools to be able to overcome that because of their defense and the level they're playing at right now.
Dexter Henry from New York Post Sports joins me here on Orange and Blue Bloods. And you mentioned that point of attack defense and Mikal Bridges, who feels like a different player. The guy that we were complaining about literally 2 weeks ago after scoring 0 points in a playoff game. It feels like this guy has emerged into a star again, which is not a guy we've seen play this way really since his early days in Brooklyn. And you have to date back to, in terms of his defense, the days in Phoenix when he was a Defensive Player of the Year finalist. And you mentioned his job on Maxey, and the shot making right now is at an extremely high level. Between him and what you see from Karl-Anthony Towns as well, with the pinch post, high post, basically playmaking. I joked and called him Karl-Anthony Jokic because he's racking up a double-digit assist games in record numbers for him. This is not normal, and it seems that he is fit quite well what Mike Brown wants to do right now. Do you feel like these guys have found themselves in that this conversation about whether or not they need to move on from Towns or Bridges, is that all put to bed given what you've seen during this win streak?
It should be, because the guys have produced. We always say that, EJ, you've been covering sports a long time and hosting and doing all the stuff. The common phrase is, all right, you're judged by what you do in the postseason. Well, these guys are doing it in the postseason. And obviously every stage you get higher. Now the conference finals, you're going to be judged when the lights are even brighter. So I get that. But for up to right now, as you asked me, should it be put to rest? Yes. Look, Mikal Bridges could have folded after the way he played the first 4 games of the Hawks series. You got to give that man credit. He did it. And listen, I also give Mike Brown credit with him first, because he was so bad offensively. That's something I want to note too. Offensively, he's been really good defensively this entire playoff run from game 1 in Atlanta till now. But right. But offensively, he didn't have it. And his confidence looked a little shot. I think it could have been easy for Mike Brown to say, get him up out of the starting rotation. I thought Mike Brown handled it right. When Deuce played better, he went with Deuce down the stretch. When Mikal Bridges started getting his shot going in Game 5 against Atlanta, and that seems to be the turning point for him, now the confidence is back. The way he was aggressive against Philadelphia, look, I don't know if it's because he's playing Philadelphia. They passed over him in the draft. I traded him. I should actually add that, traded him, not passed over him.
Yeah.
And, he played in Villanova and all that stuff. And he was playing a little bit of these games in front of his hometown crowd. I don't know if that was a motivator, but I just think he's more confident. He's more decisive. And then decisive, that's the word also I have to use with Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns talked about how he wasn't comfortable in the offense early in the season, and we saw how Mike Brown wanted to play with him, and he wanted to use him a little bit more like Domantas Sabonis. But Karl Anthony Towns is a much better, much more skilled offensive player than Domantas Sabonis. He's always had this passing ability in him. I always said he's an underrated passer, but now he's looking like Jokic with some Sazone on. I think our guy Jeff Johnson said that, right? Like, I'm taking that from him. Shout out to Jeff Johnson from Knicks Film School. He said that, and I was like, I love that. It's Jokic in a different way with flavors. Jokic light. He's the action that you talked about with him in the flex action and the pinch post. He's been tremendous in that. We just did a film study on that on New York Got Game and how good he's been, but it's not what it's doing for him personally, EJ. It's also what he's able to do for others. I think it's been able to activate Brunson, which has been a really good thing. The cutters are great. Mikal Bridges, bring him in. Mikal Bridges is a great cutter. He's great movement without the ball. It opens up things for him, opens up easy buckets for OG. The Knicks offense overall, because they're playing through Cat, it doesn't look as laborious, particularly for Jalen Brunson, but it looks just more efficient for everyone. And then I got to give Cat credit because Cat was trying to adjust to this, and he's just reading the game better. He's making decisions, whether he's passing, whether he's putting the ball on the floor and going all the way to the basket, whether he's pulling up for a three if guys drop off.
Yep.
Both guys just look more confident to me. Now, with Cat, I will add one thing, EJ, and I'm sure this is probably a concern to you too. The one thing you get a little bit concerned about is sometimes you saw it a little bit in the Philadelphia series, but I also will give him credit. Sometimes a stupid foul still came up.
Fouls.
However, where I have to give him credit was, and I think it was like game 2. It was game 2 or game 1. He had 3 fouls in the first half of game 1. And then in the second half, he had 1. So he's shown me more of an ability to buckle down, get back to where he needs to be, and make those adjustments. And so that's why I feel better about Cat. And I think Bridges just now, his confidence is high. I think this entire team's confidence is high. And I think they know what time it is and what they have to do. So both those guys, I think you got to rest off of them until you see otherwise. And even if they have a bad game, it's probably going to happen for one of them, two of them down the stretch. They've shown me enough in this playoff that they understand what they're doing in their roles with this team right now.
And what's funny about Cat is I felt like when I was watching him against the Sixers, it felt like to me that was just going to be a series where he was just going to get a lot of fouls. Like sometimes the matchup is just a matchup, and like he was much better against the Hawks when it came to not getting all those fouls. It seemed like with Maxey, who is so fast and he's sometimes torpedoing, not in a foul baiting way, but he's just torpedoing his body, ground screens to the rim. You're gonna pick up fouls there. When you play Joel Embiid, the guy you sneeze on the guy, he's flying all over the place. I think that he'll have a better opportunity in the next round. I think to not get so many fouls. James Harden, maybe you worry about a little bit off, in ball screens, but outside of that, Mobley's not really a foul merchant. There's nobody on the Pistons down low that's really going to draw a lot of fouls per se, and Kate Cunningham doesn't hunt fouls either. So I think it could have just been a bad matchup. But you're right, the foul trouble. It's like everything for the Knicks went perfectly right in that series, except for Karl Anthony Towns getting fouls, and it's crazy that it didn't even matter because the games were so out of reach so early in most of the games. It was a stunning development. I also thought on the Bridges. The one thing I threw out there last week when I did, earlier this week when I did the first show after they won, I feel like him missing that shot in Game 2 in Atlanta, like just threw off everything. Because even in those first 2 games, he wasn't awful, and he was playing actually okay in that game, and then he missed that shot. He wasn't even supposed to kind of get the ball in that situation. It was kind of a weird situation how it ended up him taking the final shot, and he took so much heat from Knicks fans for taking that damn mid-range jump shot instead of driving to the rim when your team is down 1 and you need to just get to the line. I wondered if that dialogue really got in his head, because that was the next game when he scored 0 points. And then people really were on him. I feel like once he kind of got further away from the conversation surrounding that decision, he's been a different player. and hopefully that he doesn't have another situation where he can get that thrown off. But I don't know. Do you think am I crazy to point to that? I just thought that was something that seemed it seemed to correlate quite well to the poor play.
I don't think you're crazy. I hadn't actually thought about it in that way. And as you were saying it, and I was thinking about it all the way through, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes you just have to get away from things, right, EJ? You just have to get further removed from the scrutiny. And listen, look, a lot of these guys, these athletes are trying to stay off social media, but it gets back to them through people they know, what people are saying. They know. Now you might say Mikal Bridges gets paid a lot of money. He shouldn't care what other people think. But look, people care to some degree. I think what we should really judge is how did he eventually respond about it. Because again, that can go one way. Somebody can easily go the other path where they just sink down into this. It gets in their head. They can't get out of it. So that's a testament to the people around him, the franchise, his teammates' belief in him, his belief in himself and putting in the work. So what I find interesting about what you said, though, specifically, when you talk about that game 2 shot, and obviously Josh Hart gets a rebound, gets the ball ahead to him. Now, look, we know who Mikal Bridges has been. He's generally going to fade away on these shots. But that's what's crazy about his transformation here in the shot making he's done since then. He's been going to the rim. When I've been doing these watch parties, I've sometimes been like, oh my God, I can't believe he actually went all the way to the rim. And I'm happy about that because there's a chance he could get fouled. I don't know what clicked. Maybe it is that moment. And I don't think that's illogical to say that, EJ. But if that's the case, however he got there, that's
happy he's here.
Right. Like that.
Happy he's here now.
I don't, it's funny. I don't think you and I have ever had this conversation, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I think, the reason Knicks fans wrote on him for that and then the 0-point game following that, it's like, look, some people are just never going to be able to get past the picks.
Yeah.
Some people just can't do it. Now, I think that's unfair to Mikal Bridges. I don't think it's fair to judge a trade on that because here's the thing. If the Knicks win the championship this year, even if I say gets a foul, ain't nobody going to care about them picks.
Nope.
Especially if he continues to play the way he does.
Yeah.
What you got, I think some people in their mind, it's like, it's 5 picks. You only trade 5 picks for a superstar in their mind. But that's not how trades work, right? Sometimes it's about what is the price for what you're trying to get. The Knicks are trying to get themselves another 3-and-D wing. The cost of 3-and-D wings are very high, whether they're superstars or not. And then they had to play the New York tax because it was a trade with the Nets. So this is what it is. The Knicks paid the price, but you know what they paid for him? Not to be the scorer that he was with the Nets. They paid for him to do exactly what he's doing right now in the playoffs, which is play excellent lockdown defense at the point of attack and be a fourth option and score and hit those open shots when necessary. That's what he's doing right now. This is exactly what you traded 5 first-round picks for, and now you're getting it. And if that leads to a finals or a championship, to me, it's more than well worth it. And you got to let that be.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, with Bridges, when they made the trade, remember, they didn't give up really any players, right? They gave up Bojan Bogdanovic, who didn't play. He got hurt. And then, he got hurt in the series that he wasn't able to play early into the next year. So that was the other thing, too, is they keep mentioning the 5 picks. It's like, well, if the Knicks would have given them a good player, it probably would have been 3 picks or, whatever. It wouldn't have been 5. It was just the fact that you gave up 5 because the Nets were not taking back a guy that they were going to play. So that's an aspect of the trade when you talk about the nitty-gritty of it that sometimes people forget. But you mentioned about what Karl Towns has done to open up things for other players, and that brought me to OG Anunoby because to me, he was actually the story of the Knicks postseason before he got hurt, and it became more about Mikal Bridges. I mean, he seemed to ascend into stardom with how he took over the Atlanta Hawks series and how he started the Philadelphia series. And I look at how he is developed as a player, and it feels like, again, you're seeing the beginnings of an all-star. He's been hurt. He had the hamstring injury. The Knicks have publicly, I guess through sources, have publicly downplayed the severity of this injury, but we still don't know if he's run. We still don't know if he's actually participated in any 5-on-5 yet or anything like that. We have seen him taking jump shots. He has taken individual work. How important do you feel like OG's return to the lineup still is for this team? Because they played so well without him.
It's massive. They need him. They need him. I think it was impressive that how they played in games 3 and 4 against Philly without him, but they need him. OG's their best 2-way player. He's a demon on defense. Now he was shooting at a ridiculous clip through the first 8 games of this playoff run. Is he going to shoot that way? No, continuously. But he's another player where I've got to use the confidence word too, EJ. The confidence from you said it looked like the makings of an all-star. Yeah, he was playing at an all-star level. I mean, there's an argument before he went down. He was one of the best players in the playoffs in the NBA. I don't know if you want to put him behind Shea or Wemby in terms of how they were playing, but he's right there. He's 2 or 3. And the two-way play was just phenomenal. And they're going to need him. I think particularly more so. They need him in either Detroit or Cleveland. But I even say more so against Detroit because he's somebody who can match that physicality. He's strong. And then the way he was playing off of Cat, him and Cat's chemistry starting to build with a lot of those backdoor cuts, off of Cat passing in the pinch post. OG is, I've said this all season long, he is the most important Knick player to them because of his two-way ability. And so I think they need him if they're going to get to where they want to go, which is trying to win the championship. I don't think they're doing it without OG Anunoby. I think this break came at a great time for them, for OG to rest. Yes, the Knicks are being very coy with their updates on this. I know Mike Brown said the other day when they practiced that he didn't participate in scrimmaging. So it tells me he's not doing any 5-on-5 work. But we still haven't really heard a lot more. I think what we hear in the next couple of days, but the fact that it's come through sources of my colleague Stephen Bondi and Ian Begley have all said that, look, this is not a serious hamstring injury. They think he'll return very soon, is expected to play game 1. I think that's all well and good, but I do think this time is great for the Knicks in that the more time he can get to rest, hamstrings are nothing to play with. The more time you get to rest, the better. And if you're the Knicks, you're hoping that these two teams go to a 7th game. I'm kind of hoping for that too. And then, they're starting game 1 on Tuesday night and OG's ready to go. But they're going to need OG to be the demon that he is on defense and willing to shoot the shot on offense. Like, I'm a big OG Anunoby fan, and I just think he's one of the best third options that you have in the league because of his two-way ability. And you've seen a lot of what his value's been through this playoffs. He easily is the most consistent Knick. He's been the best Knick in this playoffs, and I think he's been the most important Knick to this team.
Yeah, I told you, when I was at one of the early watch parties this season about how, to me, he's like, Superboy to Kawhi Superman, where, like, it's like he was cloned as Kawhi Leonard, but like it stopped at like 70%, so therefore we didn't get the whole player, but we got someone who's pretty damn good. He's looking like Kawhi Leonard, like that was his impact. Like, to me, that he looked like Kawhi on the Spurs during this early postseason run. So no question the team is going to need him. You mentioned the rest and how important it is for this Knicks team. There's some folks who have also been concerned about Russ becoming a factor because it's a team that now who was playing at a level that it had not ever played at in its franchise history is now going to be, sitting for at least a week. Are you concerned at all about Rust at all? Do you think that that's kind of much ado about nothing?
For me, it's much ado about nothing. Here's the thing. I'd much rather have rest than rust because you can shake off rust after a game. You get your rhythm back. You can't shake off fatigue where you've just went through a grueling 7-game series. Then you got to play every other night. This is literally what we saw with Philly to some degree. They come off the 7-game grueling series against Boston. Now, look, they're a team that was playing 6.5 players. So I understand it's even more challenging. But this is the thing. The Knicks are getting rest in a team that's got depth, EJ. And they also had a significant injury we just talked about with OG Anunoby. So we understand all that. I think, yes. Well, do I think the Knicks are going to come out in game 1 against whoever they play and maybe be firing in all cylinders? Probably not. But I think this team has been through enough to figure it out. And this is where I think we think about these things offensively. Where I don't want to see the rust is defensively. If they still have the defensive effort in that game, I still think they're good enough as an offense to figure it out. They were the best fourth quarter team in terms of net rating during the year. And so I think they will figure it out. So I'm not as worried about the rust because I think rust is something that maybe shows up for a quarter or two. Maybe it's a game, but I think this team is good enough to overcome the rust. I would much rather be in a position where I've had 7 to 10 days off or 9 days off, whatever it'll be, than be the team that's coming in after a 7-game series. And it's like, okay, now we got to play another team with a different style. And then the other thing I think that's underrated about this too, I joked in the beginning that it's like a mini camp they've had. Well, now you have time to even add more wrinkles to this offense that we've seen from Mike Brown. Mike Brown added some wrinkles. There's been counters to counters throughout the series. And I think now he's going to have time to add more things based on what he thinks, how he's watching Detroit's defense or the Cleveland's defense. And I think that's a good thing. They're getting more tape on their opponent in the playoffs while the opponent's not getting as much on them. They just have the 10 games they have. So I think this is great I think it's great for the Knicks. I'm not worried about rust. I think for the Knicks team, the way they're not an old team, but they're a veteran team, they needed the rest. The rest is good, man. Like the rest is always good.
Yeah, I think you made a great point about the ability to add things to this offense, because one of the things I've said on the show and why I think it's been so challenging for teams is because the Knicks weren't running a primarily flex offense during the regular season. So,
Yeah.
it's almost like in football, if you have a team that, is used to running a spread offense, and then all of a sudden they come into playoffs and they're playing out of center. You're like, well, this is not what we've seen. And you only got limited amount of tape to watch to know what to do. And it's not like you can go to a game and, when they played against the T-Wolves in January, the T-Wolves did this and they were able to stymie. Like there is no good tape on how to guard this offense. The team has been making every shot. So now you come into this long stretch where you're the Cavs or Pistons, you play all these games, then you're only going to have another short time, potentially if it goes to 7, to prepare yet again. And you may be coming into a whole different offense that Knicks may have come up with in a week, right? To counter whatever teams may try against them. Now that there is a little bit of tape, but again, not too much success. I think that's a huge thing. Is the ability to actually add wrinkles, make adjustments, and come out with the element of surprise. That's a big factor, because with playoff basketball, so much of this is down to coaching and scouting. The teams that have scouted their opponent the best and know what to take away, those are the teams that win. And if you don't know what's going to come in game 1, if you're one of these opponents, or you don't have a lot of tape on that, it makes things a lot harder.
Yeah, and I think we saw wrinkles that Mike Brown added. We didn't get a lot of games to see this, which is beneficial to your point for the Knicks
Right.
too. Beneficial for them and not beneficial for the opponent. He added wrinkles to things that we saw in the Atlanta series in that flex action, and then had different variations of it against Philly. So one of the things that I'll tell people to look for is so you remember game 4 against Atlanta. That was a game the Knicks kept spamming them in the pinch post with the flex action, and they were beating them with the backdoor pass, right? Like just constantly, particularly to OG Anunoby.
Yep.
And then it's funny because we were doing this for our film breakdown. Then we watched a couple games later, a game 6, and then games 1 and 2 against Philly. The Knicks were running the same action. A lot of times it would be with OG, Cat, and either Brunson or Alvarado. And the thing the Knicks were doing was who was screening for who. So the teams were so worried about OG, for Philadelphia in particular, that what it would allow was Brunson or Alvarado to just pop out to the 3-point line and be open for a great look. And so it was just a little wrinkle because you were worried before about OG screening for the other person, but now the guard is generally screening for OG, and so now you're worried about this. And though it sounds like it's something so small, but Mike Brown immediately adjusted from okay, they saw this, they're going to probably worry about this now, so now we're going to counter with this. Now I'm very intrigued to watch in the first game. Or what are these? Like you said, what are the other wrinkles he's going to add?
Yeah,
because there's going to be more variation that teams are not going to be able to be prepared for. And the beauty of the Knicks playing the way they did this season and experimenting as much. I know people didn't, love Tibbs and didn't want Tibbs to go, but this is why you got Mike Brown.
Yeah.
This is what you were selling on. It was for this moment to have the experimentation through the season, to not show all of his hand. We haven't even really seen, EJ, this team use a lot of the Brunson Cat pick and roll because they haven't been in a lot of tight late game situations to do it here in the playoffs. I think that's coming too, and there's variations off of that we could see. So, yeah, man, I think this is where I think the rest is a huge advantage in the preparation too. I agree.
You mentioned Mike Brown, and this is what you brought him here for, is the ability to adapt and to adjust. And coming into this postseason, we saw articles being written, I think one by Sam Amico, shout out to him, that, he could be fired even if Knicks somehow make the NBA Finals. And I think after they were down 2-1 in Atlanta, it felt like things were getting real hot for Mike Brown. And things have changed, right? Again, for everybody, it seems like in 2 weeks. Do you feel confident that he should and will remain Knicks head coach, even if the team falls short of winning a title?
Yeah, for me, I feel confident. I think, look, I think if he gets swept in the conference finals in some way, he's probably there's going to be a lot of people mad. Maybe he's in a little bit of trouble. I think how it looks. Let's say he loses Game 7 of the conference finals on a buzzer-beating shot. Do I think Mike Brown's getting fired? No. Do I think he should get fired? No. Do I think the Knicks should be favored in the series? Yes. In my opinion, Mike Brown has done enough in terms of how he managed the roster this season, which I've been a huge fan of. Huge fan of. It's something I personally wanted to see the Knicks do for years, use more of their roster. Now he has a little bit of a deeper roster, but just how he's utilized guys, how he's empowered guys. This actually matters more to me than the wins and losses did during the regular season, EJ. It was using Mohamed Diawara, who we haven't seen much in any significant time in these playoffs, right? Using an Ariel Hukporti, who actually ended up having some significant minutes in the Philly series.
Definitely.
That were necessary, right? But, it's the old statement, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. But it's that mindset of empowering guys and then having them stay ready, which I think has mattered a ton. Jose Alvarado, who was out of the rotation down the stretch of the season, and then comes back in, I think that was in Game 2 against Atlanta, and has provided a spark since then. Jordan Clarkson, who in the first half of the season, everybody was like, what was this signing? We thought it was going to be good. Jordan Clarkson has completely reinvented his game. He has been giving defensive effort that I've never seen from him in his career. He is getting offensive rebounds. He is playing as a glue guy as a guard position. And I still feel like there's a Jordan Clarkson 17, 18-point game that's coming that we haven't seen yet. That is a testament to me to the coaching staff, having guys staying ready, having guys bought in, and it matters when you get to the playoffs because when you want to show that versatility, you want to do that. So a lot of people are going to judge Mike Brown right now, where he is right now. We're talking about he's at the conference finals. You were right where Tibbs was last year, where his team was last year. This is the goal. You got to get to the finals. So Mike Brown getting 4 more wins is very important. But for me personally, because I've been very impressed with the job he's done and the job he did, EJ, when he was down 2-1. You heard the criticism about the playing the lineups without Brunson and Cat, and he made his adjustments. That's the key thing for me. He's not rigid. He's willing to make adjustments. I think players see that. I think the organization sees that. And he's talked to the players, hey, you want to do this? You don't like this? All right, let's get what works. So some people have said, Matt Barnes criticized him, said he's too much of a player's coach. And it's like, no, I believe leadership can't be rigid. I'm a big believer in that. Yeah. And so he hasn't been. So I personally think he's done enough. But ultimately, if we're keeping it a buck, he's really going to get judged about what happens in this series. This is the moment right here.
Yeah, it's the moment for sure, especially because it feels like the matchup that's going to be next round it's going to be a little different than with Indiana, only because Indiana also looked very impressive in their conference semifinal matchup. We kind of forget like they dominated the Cavs last year with number 1 seed, but similar in the sense that the Knicks could end up being in a higher seed if they're facing the Cavs or facing a team that people or maybe will overlook like the Pistons, like people had with the Pacers. So I think in many ways there's some similarities to like the matchup that they're going to face in terms of what happened with Tibbs. And then you mentioned the adaptability. That I think has definitely been something that's been welcome because his plan A for these playoffs just didn't work. The rotation didn't work, not having Alvarado. The offense didn't work. And I was one of these people that were like, he's getting badly outcoached through 3 games. But he said, okay, let's scrap what we've been doing. What are we going to do to just fix this? All right, Alvarado's got to play more. All right, we got to run this team more through Karl-Anthony Towns. I just don't know if Tom Thibodeau ever makes that adjustment in that series. I don't know if Knicks get out of that first round if it's Tom Thibodeau. Because we know how much Tibbs loves Brunson, how he will live and die with Brunson ISO ball, and it was losing the Knicks that series. I don't know if they get out of that series with Tom Thibodeau because he doesn't make that adjustment.
I could not agree more with you. I know people are going to be like, well, EJ and Dex, how do you know? We watched Tom Thibodeau coach.
I've seen him long enough. I've heard him long enough. Like this 5 years of this.
And like, listen, there's something to. I have respect for people who believe in their principles. Yeah, can be strong in their convictions. I don't disrespect that, but I think there's a line with that for me. This applies to not just basketball, just anything in life. I think you sometimes have to be able to look at things differently, be adaptable, adjust, listen to people. I think people think, and I said this on the live stream recently, I think people think leadership and coaching, particularly EJ, is like, I need a leader of men who just tells people to go do this and do that. And it's like, it's the idea of what you think coaching is. And a lot of this comes from media, movies we've seen
Yeah.
where the coach says this inspired rah-rah stuff that gets the team to rise to the championship level.
It's Coach Carter and
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Al
we
Pacino
kind of,
and any given Sunday.
any given Sunday, we romanticize this, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and just, I say to people all the time, think about your job. Think about whatever you do is that you do for work. And people, you've worked for good leaders. Some of us work for bad leaders. From both, we've seen it. Good leaders, from what I've seen in my experience, they know how to bring everybody together. They know how to empower people. They know how to be adaptable. This is no different than in sports. And I think we see that. And Mike Brown is not that super angry rah-rah guy, right? And that works sometimes for different teams, but for this team, and I think the Knicks, to their credit, realized that as an organization after the playoffs ended last year. I said this at the time. I love Tibbs. I love what he did for this Knicks organization. But it took more courage and gumption from the Knicks to sit there and say, we got 2 wins away from the finals, but this ain't gonna get us there. We need to make a change about how we do everything. That was the hard thing to do. It's hard to look at yourself when you're that close with this coach that has changed the franchise and say he's not the voice to take us there. We need someone, and you heard the word. I remember Mike Brown's introductory press conference, collaborative, right? That was a big word. He said that like 17 times, collaborative. But you've seen it through the season. He's taken input from assistant coaches. He's had assistant coaches. Chris Gent sometimes has been leading things in the huddle. He's had Rick Brunson has told him, oh, play this guy. Give this guy a spark. I think it was the Utah game in Utah. It was Rick Brunson, or it might have been Mo Cheeks, who said, yo, put Jordan Clarkson in. And Clarkson went in and sparked. The ability to listen to his coaches, that's huge.
Yeah.
And so I think that collaboration matters. I think adaptability matters. And I think you're 100% right. I don't think Tom Thibodeau would have made that change, because he would have been like, this is what got us here. Jalen's my guy.
Right.
Want to keep the ball in his hands. We also got to give Jalen Brunson credit, because I'm not sure he's getting enough. That he also is a leader and captain, which I'm not surprised about with him. But he could have been like, man, I still want the ball in my hands. He's like, no, I'm going to play off of Cat. This is going to make me better, and it has. He's been way more efficient than he was in the first 3 games against Atlanta. That's part. Culture is another word we throw around a lot, EJ.
Yeah.
That's part of culture that's built too, and that the whole coaching staff deserves credit. The organization deserves credit. But yeah, I don't think Tibbs makes that, and I think it makes that change. If you put a gun to my head or ask me to bet, I don't think Tibbs makes the change. And I think you're right. The Knicks probably lose the series because they weren't adaptable enough. I think you're probably right.
No question. Dexter Henry from New York Post Sports joining us here on Orange and Blue Bloods. You mentioned Jalen Brunson, and it's funny, every series it feels like the Knicks play, there is a question about some other guy being the best player in the series. And we saw in the first series with Jalen Johnson. We saw it in the second series with both Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Jalen Brunson still putting up historic numbers when it comes to his postseason production. Are you confident in saying that he is currently the best player remaining in the Eastern Conference playoffs?
Yeah, I'd be fine with saying that. If you want to tell me that Cade is a better two-way player than him, okay, it's fine. He's got a little bit more size. I've just seen Jalen Brunson do it too many times in the big spot. I've seen him make the adjustments that I just made when we talked about in the last question, adjusting his game to not being off the ball. I'll put it like this. Whether you want to say he's the best player left, he's the player I absolutely trust the most. Not even close. I just think his adaptability, to use that word again, I think is impressive. I think he can play the game he wants to play. You know, one of the things the Jalen Brunson critics have said, or Knicks fan, I'm talking specifically about Knicks fans, we're just keeping it within the Knicks fan base.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's always been this talk about him ball hogging, dominating the ball too much. My colleague Stephen Bondi always say this. Nobody brings this up when the Knicks win. He's right. People only bring it up when the Knicks lose. Now, that's not me saying that the brand of basketball they're playing right now isn't better for the team, because it is better for the team. And Jalen Brunson has always been a I'm going to do what's better for the team guy. But I just think his shot making ability, his clutch ability, yeah, I don't trust anybody. We gonna trust James Harden over him in the clutch? No. I haven't trusted Donovan Mitchell, and I like Donovan Mitchell. I think Jalen Brunson's a better player because he's just done a bit more in the clutch in the playoffs. Cade's good, but Cade hasn't been to this stage yet.
Yeah.
Cade's really good. I think Cade's probably the most talented
Mm.
of the players left. But if you ask me who's the best or who I'm taking right now, in out of anybody in the series, it's Jalen Brunson, hands down. I'm taking Jalen Brunson all the way.
And I think what you're alluding to too, when I was thinking about like the attributes that make a great player, is he's a great winner. At the end of the day, like
Absolutely.
we talk about these things when it comes to, all right, what's his defensive effectiveness compared to someone like Keith Cunningham, or how does
Mm-hmm.
his size limit him compared to someone like James Harden or someone like that. I'm like, all right, but like you said, when the chips are on the table and it's closing time, who do you want on the court on your team? And I think you'll be damned say anybody but Jalen Brunson when it comes to, late second situations, fourth quarters. The guy continues to be money. And I said this the other day, like, he's only been outplayed by one guy, and that was Tyrese Halliburton. And I had Knicks fans in my comments even arguing that they don't think that Tyrese Halliburton has outplayed him. Now, I think he did because he won.
I think he
And
did
I
too.
think and I think Tyrese Halliburton made winning plays last year. I don't think he outplayed him 2 years ago. I think last year you certainly would say he outplayed him. But it wasn't like even Brunson played poorly. But to me, that's the only guy I've seen outplay Jalen Brunson. I'm including Jimmy Butler from a couple years ago. I have not seen anybody in the Eastern Conference outplay Jalen Brunson in a 7-game series. So someone's going to have to show me before I jump to anyone else saying that, you know what, yeah, this guy, that guy. I was stunned at how many people were willing to jump on the Tyrese Maxey train when, as you mentioned, playoff
Mhm.
basketball is just so different. And it takes experience, and it takes having gone through these wars to understand what it takes to actually succeed. And, it's not something Maxey said, but something that VJ Edgecombe said that I thought was really striking was, when they asked him, what did you learn about this postseason? And remember, Edgecombe torched the Knicks this year. He was essentially a non-factor during the playoffs, and he torched them during the regular season. And he said, yeah, the team, like, they guarded me way different than they did during the regular season. And I'm like, I wish every NBA fan would take that VJ Edgecombe clip and just insert it in their brain for the rest of their lives. And whenever they talk basketball again, they remember this. And that to take what you see in the regular season, and it's not to say just ignore it, but to take what you see in the regular season, especially success, and then put it up against guys who are proven playoff players and say, you know what, this guy's actually better than that guy. It's like when the teams get to scout, when the teams are not coming off a back-to-back, or guys on an iPad on a plane trying to figure out who they're playing next, it's a different energy. It's a different scout. It's a different everything. And for a young player like VJ, it's a great experience for him to go through this. And he had some good moments in the Boston series, but then things changed so drastically for him in New York. That's what it's like for all these players. But guess what? Jalen Brunson's been through this road. He was a young player in Dallas struggling in the playoffs in his first go around, way back in the bubble. Like, these guys have to go through the maturation process, and we're so quick to want to just torpedo everybody to the top. And I don't know why that is. I mean, even the great Michael Jordan lost his first 6 playoff games, right? Like, we all know about LeBron James's playoff shortcomings. Like, it takes time for these guys. So when we're comparing Brunson to, again, a Kate Cunningham, who's a very good player, really talented, as you mentioned, but I mean, we've seen some of his deficiencies in this postseason. The
Yeah.
turnovers he's had in late in games in every series he's played so far have almost cost them these series, and it may end up costing them against Cleveland. Like, we've seen, and then for guys who are even more veteran guys like Mitchell and Harden, well, we've seen those guys not perform at the highest levels when that defense has been at its highest. So I still don't get why Jalen Brunson gets a lot of the doubt. Do you have any guesses as to why some people still doubt Jalen Brunson as that superstar player?
Size, in short.
Yeah.
And to me, when they do that, I think it's a little lazy. Like EJ, I think not you, but I think because it's funny. I've taught so much sports with you. I kind of know a lot, like how you think and how we kind of think similarly. I think on certain things, but how people get so locked into how they've seen something before, and so I'll put it like this. This is something I remember. just growing up in my basketball loving self, there were these mantras you'd always hear about basketball that people believed. When I was younger, you can never win with a scoring point guard.
Mm.
You can never win with a scoring point guard. Like, that sounds crazy to hear now because nobody says it anymore because it got disproven, right? Couple people, look, Steve Nash was close to a finals. We could say he was scoring point. He was a brilliant passing point guard too, but scoring point guard, you could say that. Steph Curry kind of changed all that for everybody.
Yeah.
You also heard, this kind of goes with Steph Curry being a part of this, you can't win with a jump shooting team. Mm-hmm. Charles Barkley even said this at the beginning of their run. Can't win with a jump shooting team. Well, that's been disproven. I mean, what percentage of the league is a jump shooting team right now? Things evolve, right? Athletes get better. You also heard you can't win with a small guard. Obviously, Isaiah Thomas won 2 titles. Allen Iverson went to a NBA Finals, which he had it's amazing that he even took that team to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson is so good at what he does pound for pound, it doesn't get respected enough. His footwork is elite. His body control is elite. He is not an amazing athlete in the way we think of blowing past someone like a Tyrese Maxey or just jumping out of the gym like VJ Edgecombe or Russell Westbrook or somebody in his prime. But his footwork is so good. His ability to create space is so good, which to me is like the most valuable skill in modern basketball. Some of the great scorers we talk about, whether it's Harden, Luka Doncic, those are not ultra athletic guys. They're guys who can create space. Now, they're a little bit bigger, so people believe in them. But I think it's the doubt about his size, EJ. He's a small guard. He can't do it. People think about what Becky Hammon said. And I always think Knicks fans got a little bit too much in their feelings about Becky Hammon's comments. Size does matter. Becky Hammon wasn't completely wrong. What matters is how you utilize Jalen Brunson. And so the way we're seeing Jalen Brunson utilized now, where he doesn't have to work as hard, EJ, but still be a highly effective superstar, that shows you it can work. It's just, how does it look, right? He doesn't have to be as ball dominant. I think if he's as ball dominant, it doesn't work as well. But I think if you're using how he's used now, I mean, I hate to put it, it's a little Steph Curry-ish. Yeah. The off-ball movement. He's not the shooter Steph Curry is. We know that. But if he gets off the ball, if Cat's able to give him the ball where he's getting a little bit of momentum towards the basket, the shots are easier for him. And he's a great shot maker, so he can do it. I don't know why people don't believe. If you're not believing right now, to me, after what you've seen him do, particularly when you take the first 3 games of the playoffs where he did not shoot the ball well.
Yeah.
And that they changed everything. And now he's still back to his efficient numbers. I don't know what's going to make you believe. I guess getting to the finals. I don't know.
I know. It's crazy. And it's funny. I saw right before I came on here, I guess first things first, they were putting up Brunson's stats in the last 3 postseasons compared to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's. And it could have been a blind resume look because it was almost the same. And like the 3 gentlemen, and shout out to Chris Broussard, because I know him a little bit on the side on the set, and they were like, "Wow, this is stunning." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, this is what this guy has been doing for the last 3 years. He's been as good as the league's now going to be reigning 2-time MVP. Like that's who he's been." And it's so weird because you're right. I think it does come down to size. It's just I'm also so used to people's perceptions of basketball being based almost solely on playoffs that it's surprising that someone who is such a playoff riser doesn't get like more credit. Like so many people who talk ball, like they base their entire conversation about what they've seen in the postseason and how we judge guys out in the postseason. It seems like Jalen Brunson is the only guy who his exploits in the postseason are ignored and put away as like some kind of fluke or whatever, or like somehow like the Knicks didn't win because of him, or like they would have won if they had a different guy. Again, there's not too many guys, perhaps his size, that have led their teams to championships. When people make the case about Steph Curry, they say, well, Steph Curry has a different shot. So they always qualify it. They qualify it with something different. But as you mentioned, there's going to be a first for everything. You're going to see something for the first time. And with the way he's playing, the way the team is playing, I don't know. I just feel like, and I said this on Orange Blue Buzz earlier in the week, like what the Knicks are doing, how he's playing, the team is playing. Like this is stuff I saw from like the Heat with LeBron and like the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. Like those teams that like whatever conversations, issues they had during the regular season, or the playoff time came around and they just started bludgeoning people. And we had the questions about, oh, is it Russ versus Russ? It's like, doesn't matter. It's Shaq and Kobe. It's LeBron and Wade. It's, all the other great teams in that era. Maybe the Boston Big Three. Like, those teams, like, we didn't care about those things because once you got to the playoffs, they knew how to take care of their bodies. They knew how to perform. And I feel like with this team, like, I feel like it's happening in live action. So it's kind of hard to relate to it in the same way because they don't have the pedigree of the Heatles or the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe or the Lakers with Kobe and Powell. Like, but it feels like that's what I'm living through. We'll see if they end up getting.
But it is.
Yeah,
it is. The numbers tell you so.
Right.
It is like the way the comparison you're making. People are going to hear that, and I just want to support you on this because it's not. None of this stuff is in a vacuum. They're going to hear that and be like, yeah, well, they had the star power of like LeBron and Wade and Bosh and Shaq and Kobe. But that's the thing that we're talking about is people are just used to seeing the star thing in this way. This Knicks team is probably more balanced than those teams. I don't even really know what team to compare it to. I just think you have to be more balanced in the league. They're closer to what the Oklahoma City Thunder are, even though their depth is just nuts, than they are some of those other teams. It's just you had question marks about these guys and you didn't know how it was going to fit in the system. So we talked in the top about the question marks about Bridges and Towns and all this other stuff. But when you look at it and you look at this Knicks team, if you don't like, I look at the way this Knicks team is playing. It's like this is what I thought they could be. I always thought this was here.
Yeah, same here.
Because I thought their depth was good. I always thought this was possible. They just now reached it, and like you said, it's happening in real time in the playoffs. You didn't see it in the regular season with the Heat teams, with the Laker teams. You saw this kind of coming through the regular season. Right. So people don't know what to do with it. Then there's this stigma of the Knicks have had a long 2-decade period of not being run as a good franchise. But to me, it's like, forget that. Yeah. What have they done now? What have they been doing in the last 6 to 7 years? Well, they've been a very competently run franchise. And they went and made a move that people laughed at, for some people did last year when they decided to change the coach. Because people didn't like how the coaching search went down, that it didn't seem as smooth. And it's like, who cares? Sometimes you don't get your first choice. Sometimes when you get hired for a job, you don't know if you were the first choice.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's I think a lot of this has to go with people lazily want things to be the way they've seen before. But you make a great point, though, EJ. What we're seeing isn't really that different. We've seen really good or great teams get through a run of the playoffs. Even the Pacers last year, who had a great run to the finals, and then obviously was a game away from winning the finals.
Yeah. They
were not this dominant, even when they looked good against Cleveland. People didn't see it because that's a team that I think was, if I remember correctly, 22-19 halfway through the season. And then they started playing better once they got Halliburton back. Things can change with teams. But the way the Knicks are playing, they're playing championship level basketball.
Yeah.
I think people are just scared to say it because it's the Knicks.
I agree.
Part of my thing.
Yeah. I agree. I said it a couple of days ago. I was like, with the Knicks, whether you're a fan or even an observer, there's not just the fear, but the expectation that the team will collapse, or that the team will come up short, or that the team will make life harder on itself than it has to be. So that's why I think for Knicks fans, it's become so euphoric, and for others, like maybe the guys on the first things first desk, it's like, whoa, this is crazy. I like a lot of people are just speechless because like I don't know what to make of it. But it's like because with this organization, it never comes this easy, and is the way they're playing right now. We talked about it before the show, and I think we both agree. I don't really think it matters really who they play in the next round, because I think what we've seen, as you mentioned, is championship level ball. So if they play at a championship level, they will beat the Cavs or the Pistons. I've watched these two teams play now. Those teams have a ton of issues. Like they're gritty, they're tough, and they're playing a tough competitive series, and someone's going to win, and someone's going to deserve a ton of credit for winning that series. And the Knicks can't come in and sleepwalk at all. But again, the Cavs' defensive issues in the backcourt are massive to me. Pistons, no other secondary scoring besides Cade Cunningham. Cunningham's high turnover rate has been a problem in fourth quarters. They don't shoot the ball that well. Like, those teams are really flawed. They're not looking at a team that is hitting on all cylinders, whoever they play. So for me, I've always felt like it's really more about the Knicks than it is about their opponent, at least in the Eastern Conference. When we get to the West, that's one thing. But
Great.
what other question marks, or are there any big question marks in your eyes as a team gears up for this next phase of the postseason in the conference finals?
That's a good question, because I think for me it would be, I'll give two things, a question mark. And this is true for every team. Are you going to stay healthy? So much about having a great playoff run, EJ, is about you got to have a little bit of luck. You got to stay healthy. The Knicks have been actually relatively healthy this year. They've been relatively healthy for most of this postseason. OG Anunoby got dinged up. They've gotten themselves, now I want to call it luck, because of their great play. They've now gotten themselves some rest, which could be, we might look back at this in 2 weeks and the Knicks could be in the finals and we're like, that rest they got was great because OG Anunoby
what OG injury?
Yeah, you're like, what OG injury? I don't even remember it. Like, OG came back and he's playing at the level he was before. And you're like,
Yeah.
that probably doesn't happen if they don't get that rest. They have to play a tougher second round series. So that's one for me. And I think the other thing too is what happens when they get punched in the mouth again? How confident are they in another tight game? And we haven't really seen a tight game for them in a long time. They did have a closer game in game 2 against Philly without Joel Embiid, but they were able to execute so well down the fourth stretch in the fourth quarter, which has really, 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 really been their bread and butter throughout the season because they're such a good fourth quarter team. But, when the stakes go up a little bit, how else is that going to happen? And that I guess I'll add a third thing. Let's say the Knicks come out in the next series and they look dominant in the first 2 games. And you're texting me, EJ, and you're like, see, Dex, this is out here looking like the 2001 Lakers, right? Not saying that they are, but we're just making that joke. How much are they going to be able to keep their foot on the gas?
Right.
I'm not as worried about that last thing that I mentioned because I really, really believe that this team has their eye on the prize. I like you feel very good about them, whoever they play in the next round. And I don't see them losing. But my 2 questions would be health and then what happens when you get punched in the mouth, because they will again. Just how are they going to respond? Yeah. Those are my 2 big questions.
I think those are two important questions. Like, I feel like my biggest thing is like what happens when the shot making isn't insane, which has been for the last 7 games. How do they look? You can make the case that that's kind of what game 2 was with Philly, and they figured it out. But that would probably be the thing for me. It's just like, will they continue to defend the way they've been defending when the shots aren't falling? Mikal Bridges hits another swoon. Like, will he still be engaged the way he's been the last 7 games? Like, those are the questions that, are going to remain. Now, the other question I think would be, what happens if teams actually figure out how to stop this Carlton Towns high posting, or at least find some kind of fix for it? I've seen the adjustments teams have tried to make. There's nothing that's worked. They tried putting the big on OG Anunoby or whoever the wing guy is on there. That didn't work out very well for them. Whether it was Paul George guarding Cat or whether it was Dyson Daniels guarding Cat, that didn't work. They tried putting the center on, obviously, Cat, which is what the Knicks want, and that creates a lot of more problems. Like, I don't know how they handle it, but if they face a team, like the one thing I'll mention, as it kind of leads us to our final question about the finals, I said this, I felt like the OKC Thunder are the best team to guard these actions because they can switch everything, and they have disruptive centers and bigs who can pressure Carlton Towns potentially into turnovers. That is like the team of all teams, even more than I think even San Antonio, that I would be concerned about, because they have so many quick guards. They're so physical away from the ball. It would be imperative for the Knicks to get some, which no teams get, but to get some better whistle in the NBA Finals than other teams have gotten against the Thunder. Because I think that the Thunder will try to just blow up every single one of those actions with Dort and with Case and Wallace. So that would be my big question. But when you think about this team and where they're at now, and you feel very confident in their abilities to get to the NBA Finals, what's your confidence level in them winning it all and bringing the Larry O'Brien Trophy back to the Mecca?
I think if they get to the NBA Finals, and I'll say whoever they play, if they play the Spurs, I like their chances better. I think the Spurs are a fantastic matchup for the Knicks. I know it sounds crazy. People like they got Wemby, but I think the Knicks match up very well with the Spurs because of what you said. They've got quick guards, but they don't have the physicality that the Thunder do.
Right.
And I think the Knicks can exploit some things inside. They can make the Spurs. Well, I think the way they're playing offense right now works even better than what we saw against the Spurs in the NBA Cup championship game, and also the other 2 times they played. Knicks should have beat them 3 times this year. They blew that game on New Year's Eve, where they were up 18 down in San Antonio. But I think they haven't even seen the Spurs at their best. I kind of rooting for a Knicks Spurs matchup just because you
99.
get 1999 revenge,
Right.
and then also I think the Knicks and Spurs getting there, it's legitimate for me, but it'll legitimize the cup for people because you'd have the 2 cup finalists going for, maybe the Spurs will try to get what they didn't get there. The Knicks are trying to get the first double, as English Premier League soccer fans will say, when you win 2 trophies, the first double in their history. And I think that'd be kind of cool for the Knicks because the Knicks should then put up 2 banners.
They should.
So that would be cool. If they play the Thunder, look, I have a lot of respect for the Thunder and they're the champs. We saw last year where the Pacers came in there and everybody picked Thunder in 5. That was the popular pick. And I think there'll be a temptation to do that again with the Knicks. And I think the Knicks are a more balanced team than the Pacers were last year and better defensively on the side of the ball. The Knicks they had an 11-point loss to the Thunder, 3-point loss to the Thunder this year. I think the Knicks will be more competitive against the Thunder than people think. And I think they could beat them. It'd be a long series, 6 or 7. I think the Knicks could do it. I just think so much of the Knicks. So to answer your question in short, I'd be pretty confident. I'll give them a 50% chance, maybe a 60% chance against the Spurs. I'd probably give them a little bit less of a chance against the Thunder. But I think if you're a Knicks fan and you're saying they could win it all, I think you should be confident because I think if they get to the finals, EJ, this city's going to be on fire.
Oh,
and I think those games in Madison Square Garden are going to be nuts. I'm glad hopefully I'll be healthier to be back in the building for that. Those games are going to be nuts. And I think while there'll be pressure, my friend, I think the Knicks, one thing you cannot underestimate sometimes in sports is a team that knows the moment, that knows when they get there, what's at stake. I'm not sure when the Knicks get there, they're going to feel the pressure of 53 years. Maybe they'll feel a little bit. But I wonder if we will get our version with the Knicks of what the Knicks couldn't do in 1994, and the Rangers could do in 1994, where they ended their drought. And maybe the Knicks do that. And I think that's something that's going to be within, or the energy around the Garden, within the city, within the players. This is really our time to do it. There's something about that for me, EJ, and I'm saying this very early, where they still got 4 more wins to get to the final.
I know.
There's something I just feel about that that's going to help push the Knicks to where they got to go. Sometimes there's these special times in sports. I'm wondering if this is one of those years, because a lot of it has to do with what you were talking about, the way the Knicks are coming together, the way they're playing, the way they're looking so dominant, the way people are like, I don't know what to do with this because I've never seen a Knicks franchise deal with prosperity like this before. So I don't know what to do with it. So why not it be the time where they end the drought? I just think what I'll say, and I'll wrap shortly on this, I just think, EJ, as they keep winning, I see the confidence getting higher, and I only see it get higher if they get another 4 wins and get to the finals. I don't think they're going into Oklahoma City and with fear. That's all the respect in the world to Oklahoma City and how good they are, and they're going to try to win back-to-back titles if they play them. But I think they're going to be really, really, all these players are motivated, but they're going to be really motivated. And I wonder if that's kind of the X factor. I just wonder.
Oh, man, that's a great place to leave it. Dexter Henry joining us here on Orange and Blue Bloods. Dex, let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, they can find me on the New York Post Sports YouTube channel and website. You can find me there, host New York Got Game, which EJ has been a part of. And I got to get EJ up for another watch party pretty soon.
Let's go.
Before the finals, when I might not see EJ anymore. EJ's out in the streets partying with the Knicks fans. Also host Straight Outta Flushing and Liberty Lately, so you can check out those shows too. But EJ will be a guest again soon. We got to get him in the studio you got to get him in the studio for a playoff watch party, because the game you did with me, you saw a win, right, EJ? You came up for a win?
Yeah, we came up with the Raptors game on the road when Mikal Bridges went crazy in that game, and they blew out the Raptors in the second half. That was a fun one. Yeah, whatever you guys want me, man. I'd love to join in on the party. Hopefully bring some more good luck.
Done. Done. I'll probably hit you up soon in a couple days. I'll be hitting you up. All right.
That's what's up, man. Dexter Henry, thanks so much for joining, man. Appreciate you.
Anytime, brother. Thank you.
You got it. And this is, again, Orange and Blue Bloods. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Of course, if you enjoyed this episode, you can catch all episodes of Orange and Blue Bloods wherever you get your podcast. Just search Orange and Blue Bloods. And do me a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit auto download if you can. Give me a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it. Also, if you want to watch these episodes, you can check it out on the New Generation Media YouTube page. Again, follow me on X, EJ_Stewart, Instagram, and TikTok, Axon EJ, and on Buzzer, follow me, EJ205 Prep. That'll do it for now. We'll be back with more Knicks talk. This is Orange and Blue Bloods. Thanks to Dex. I'll see you guys in a little bit.